There are things older women do that most men will never openly admit they love, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's not about looks, age, or status. It's the subtle things, the quiet confidence, the unshakable calm, the way she walks into a room and shifts the energy without saying a word. And the truth is, men notice, and they never forget it. When a woman has lived through enough experiences, both in love and in life, something shifts inside her. She no longer feels the need to prove herself constantly or seek validation from every interaction. She understands her worth, not just intellectually, but emotionally. That emotional grounding is like an anchor in a world full of storms. And whether or not men openly say it, they are deeply drawn to that steadiness. It's not about being emotionless or indifferent. It's about the way she responds rather than reacts. If he pulls away for a day, she doesn't spiral or chase. If a conversation gets tense, she knows how to hold her ground without creating unnecessary drama. That energy is rare, and men feel it the moment they're around it. She doesn't need to be the loudest in the room. She doesn't need to constantly remind someone how valuable she is. She walks in, and her presence says it for her. That level of calm creates a magnetic pull because most people, including men, are used to turbulence in relationships. Emotional highs and lows can be thrilling at first, but over time they become exhausting. When a man finds a woman who knows how to sit with silence, who doesn't freak out when plans change, who can hold a disagreement without weaponizing emotions, he finds something he didn't even know he was looking for. Older women often bring that balance without even trying. They've been through heartbreak, they've picked themselves up, and most importantly, they've learned that not everything requires a reaction. That kind of maturity allows her to show up as a safe space rather than an emotional roller coaster. And men, who are often silently burdened by the pressure to always be strong, are drawn to someone who allows them to just breathe, to just be. It's in the way she handles a difficult conversation without turning it into a personal attack. It's in the way she encourages a man to be vulnerable without making him feel weak. These are not big, showy gestures, but they are felt deeply. Men may not even be fully aware of how much they need this kind of presence until they experience it. There's a quiet relief in being with someone who's not addicted to drama, who doesn't read into every word or text, who trusts her own value so much that she doesn't need constant reassurance. It feels rare. It feels different. And that difference becomes unforgettable. A grounded woman, especially one who's a little older and knows who she is, has the ability to make a man feel safe without ever saying the words. The safety doesn't come from controlling or fixing him. It comes from how she carries herself. And it's that inner peace, that deep emotional stability, that becomes one of the most secretly loved qualities in her. There's something incredibly powerful about the way an older woman listens. It's not rushed, it's not distracted, and it's definitely not self-centered. She listens with her whole presence. When a man speaks, she doesn't just hear the words. She pays attention to what's behind them. She's not waiting for her turn to talk, and she's not crafting a response in her head while he's still explaining himself. She gives him space to be himself. That kind of attention is rare, and men feel it immediately, even if they can't put it into words. It makes them open up in ways they usually don't. Because most people listen to reply, she listens to understand, and that changes everything. Men are taught from an early age to suppress certain emotions, to be strong, to not complain. So when they finally speak up about something real, something vulnerable, they're not just looking to be heard, they're hoping they won't be judged. An older woman, having gone through her own emotional seasons, knows that holding space for someone is more important than trying to fix them. She doesn't jump in with advice unless he asks. She doesn't minimize what he's saying or tell him to get over it. Instead, she nods, she reflects back what she hears, and she lets silence exist if it needs to. That silence isn't awkward, it's sacred. It gives a man the feeling that he doesn't have to be on all the time. When she listens like that, something subtle shifts inside him. He starts to trust her more, not because she's done anything flashy, but because he feels safe sharing parts of himself that usually stay hidden. She doesn't interrupt with stories about herself, and she doesn't try to relate in ways that steal the focus away from him. She respects the moment, and that respect builds intimacy in a way that no amount of flirting or physical connection ever could. A man might not say, "I love how you listen," but he'll show it by coming to her with things he wouldn't tell anyone else. He might call her when something important happens. He might open up about things from his past that he's kept locked away. And it's all because she created that space. It doesn't come from trying too hard or playing any kind of game. It comes from genuine presence, maturity, and the confidence to not make everything about herself. This type of listening goes deeper than any compliment or gift. It's emotional availability at its finest, and men are starving for it more than they let on. They're tired of being misunderstood, tired of having to translate how they feel into something palatable. When a woman just gets it, when she hears what he's really saying beneath the surface, it's disarming, it's comforting, and most of all, it's unforgettable. There's something quietly powerful about the way an older woman touches a man, not with intensity or seduction, but with ease and intention. It's not about being provocative, it's about presence. A brief touch on his arm while laughing, the light brush of fingers as she passes something to him, a calming hand on his back when they walk side by side. These small, seemingly insignificant gestures speak volumes. To a man, they feel grounding, comforting, and deeply human. Most importantly, they feel sincere. She's not trying to win him over or use touch as a tactic. She's simply expressing connection in the most natural way, and that authenticity is magnetic. Unlike younger interactions where touch can sometimes feel loaded with expectation or urgency, the way an older woman engages physically often feels more relaxed and confident. There's no rush to prove anything. She's not seeking approval through affection, and that alone makes her touch feel more genuine. She knows her own boundaries. She knows the difference between closeness and clinginess. And when she reaches out, it's not a demand, it's a gift. A man can feel when a touch carries calm instead of need, presence instead of pressure. That kind of gentle, grounded contact creates a feeling of ease that men don't talk about, but they don't forget either. Sometimes it's as simple as adjusting his collar, brushing something off his shoulder, or resting her hand on his knee during a quiet moment. These aren't moves designed to get a reaction, they're acts of attention. They communicate, "I see you, I care about you, I'm here with you." That unspoken reassurance, especially in a world that often expects men to be tough and emotionless, feels like a rare kind of intimacy. It's not loud, it doesn't demand, but it makes a man feel safe in a way that words can't replicate. That's why it sticks with him long after the moment is over. There's also a grace in how older women know when not to touch. Their emotional maturity helps them read the room. They don't force closeness when it's not invited. They don't use touch to distract or avoid difficult feelings. Instead, they offer it when it matters, when it heals, when it soothes, when it strengthens a bond. That subtle timing, that intuitive knowing makes all the difference. Because for men, touch isn't just physical, it's emotional. It's one of the few ways they allow themselves to feel vulnerable and connected. When someone offers it in a way that feels safe and steady, it opens doors they didn't even know were locked. So much of what draws men to older women comes down to energy, and when that energy is expressed through a soft touch, a warm embrace, or a gentle pat on the hand, it tells a story of trust, calm, and quiet affection. It's not about fireworks, it's about something deeper, something lasting, something real. There's a special kind of impact when a woman notices the things about a man that aren't immediately visible. Older women often have a way of seeing beyond the surface. Instead of focusing on his looks, his paycheck, or how flashy his lifestyle is, she sees character. She notices the way he treats people, how consistent he is with his words and actions, how he shows up even when it's inconvenient. And when she compliments those things, it hits differently. It doesn't just flatter him. It reaches a place inside he didn't even realize was longing to be acknowledged. Most men aren't told they're good people. They're not often praised for being honest or dependable or loyal. Society tends to celebrate them for what they do, not who they are. So when a woman, especially one who's emotionally mature, tells a man, "I really admire how calm you stayed in that situation," or "I love how thoughtful you are with the people around you," it disarms him. It cuts through the noise. It makes him feel respected, not just desired. And that respect builds a foundation that physical attraction alone never could. There's something about being seen on that deeper level that makes a man want to rise even further. When he feels appreciated for his integrity, his kindness, or his consistency, he starts showing up even more with those traits, not because he's performing, but because he feels safe being his full self. And that safety is created when a woman genuinely values the things most people overlook. It makes him feel like he can exhale, like he doesn't have to keep proving himself. He doesn't have to posture, he just has to be himself, and that's enough. An older woman often knows that men carry the weight of expectations just as much as women do, even if they don't talk about it. She sees when a man is trying to protect others, when he's biting his tongue out of respect, when he's showing up quietly, without asking for praise. And when she calls that out in a gentle, affirming way, he feels something rare. He feels understood. And that kind of understanding builds a connection that lasts far beyond the surface level spark. It's in the way she says, "I love how grounded you are," or "I really admire how patient you were with that," or even, "You have such a good heart." These are not just compliments, they're acknowledgments. They say, "I see who you are, and who you are matters." That kind of recognition is incredibly attractive because it feeds something deeper than ego. It feeds the soul. And a man who feels seen like that starts to trust her in a different way. He lets her in, not because she asked, but because she earned it, with her awareness, her emotional maturity, and her quiet ability to notice what others miss. There's a quiet, captivating energy that surrounds an older woman when she flirts. Not because she's trying to impress, but because she simply enjoys the moment. She doesn't chase attention, she doesn't rely on flashy tactics, and she never forces connection. Instead, she plays with subtlety, a glance that lingers just a second longer, a teasing smile that says more than words ever could, a playful comment that carries warmth instead of desperation. These are the things that draw men in and hold their attention. It's not about being overt, it's about being intentional. She knows how to create chemistry without creating pressure. Men are incredibly sensitive to energy, even if they don't consciously recognize it. And the energy that comes from a confident woman, one who's at peace with herself and not performing for approval, feels completely different from the energy of someone seeking validation. An older woman isn't trying to prove her worth with every interaction. She already knows she has value. And that knowledge gives her a natural charm that can't be faked. When she flirts, it doesn't feel like a strategy. It feels like a shared secret, a private exchange in a room full of noise. That quiet intimacy is rare, and men feel it deeply. There's something especially magnetic about the way an older woman holds eye contact. She doesn't break it nervously. She doesn't look away too quickly. Instead, she meets a man's eyes with a softness and certainty that says she's not afraid to be seen, and she's not afraid to see him either. That confidence is disarming. It creates a space where a man doesn't feel like he's being judged or evaluated. He feels like he's being invited to be real. That's a powerful thing, especially in a world where so much interaction is surface level or transactional. Her playfulness isn't loud or exaggerated. It's in the way she makes a joke that's smart, not silly. It's in the way she nudges a boundary without crossing it. She knows how to create that tension that makes a man lean in, want more, and feel curious about who she really is. And the more he gets to know her, the more layers he discovers, not because she's hiding anything, but because she's not in a rush to reveal everything at once. That slow reveal is a kind of flirtation all on its own, and it leaves a lasting impression. What makes this kind of flirting so irresistible is that it comes from wholeness, not need. She doesn't need a man to respond a certain way for her to feel good about herself. She's already enough, with or without his approval. That sense of self creates a freedom in the interaction. He's not being manipulated. He's not being pushed. He's being welcomed into a dance, one that's light, sincere, and grounded in mutual respect. And that's what makes her unforgettable. There's a deep sense of peace that comes from being with someone who doesn't constantly demand attention, who doesn't need to be entertained or reassured every moment of the day. Older women often carry this peace effortlessly. They've moved past the phase of needing to be the center of everything. They've learned how to enjoy silence, how to appreciate presence over performance. And for men, that shift is powerful. It's not that men don't want to give attention, they do, but what they love is when it's not expected like a duty, when it's appreciated rather than required. Being with someone who values connection over constant affirmation allows a man to relax, to feel like he can be himself without the pressure to constantly prove something. When an older woman spends time with a man, she's present. She's not glued to her phone looking for a better distraction. She doesn't treat his time like something to fill a void. She treats it like something to enjoy. Whether they're having deep conversation or simply sitting quietly together, she doesn't make him feel like she's somewhere else emotionally. That ability to simply be with someone is rare, and men notice it. They don't always have words for it, but they feel the difference. There's no hidden checklist in her mind, no running narrative of how he should be showing up. Instead, she allows the moment to unfold naturally, without manipulation. She's also not afraid of distance. She doesn't panic if he needs space or gets busy. She understands that people have lives, responsibilities, and emotional ebbs and flows. That understanding creates trust. It shows him she's not going to unravel at the first sign of separation. That makes her feel safe, and that safety becomes attractive. He knows he can be honest. He knows he won't be punished for needing a moment to himself. She doesn't need constant reassurance because she already knows her own value, and that confidence gives him room to breathe. When she speaks, she does so with intention, not just to fill silence. When she listens, it's not because she's waiting to talk, it's because she actually cares about what's being said. That emotional steadiness is incredibly grounding. Men, who are often expected to carry the emotional weight of situations without showing weakness, find comfort in someone who offers calm rather than chaos. It allows them to be vulnerable in a way that doesn't feel exposed. They don't need to be performing to earn affection. They can simply be. That space, free from noise, free from drama, free from demands, becomes something a man quietly cherishes. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's something that lingers. That emotional calm, that subtle understanding, makes him feel seen in a way that has nothing to do with grand gestures. And once he's felt that peace, it's hard to go back to anything else. So when we talk about what men secretly love about older women, it's not about the loud, obvious things. It's not about playing hard to get or fitting into some perfect image. It's about the small, meaningful way she carries herself, the emotional steadiness, the thoughtful compliments, the gentle touch, the confident flirtation, the deep listening, and the peaceful energy she brings into a man's life. These are not acts of strategy, they're reflections of a woman who knows who she is. And that quiet confidence, that maturity, that presence, it draws a man in and keeps him there, not because she needs him, but because being around her feels like home. She doesn't demand love, she inspires it without even trying.